What's up, guys? So we got a very special guest today. All right. So everybody, round of applause to my bro Richard. So that's so basically, I'm glad to have my bro here today. So we're gonna discuss a lot of topics. We got him on the line today. Very smart guy. Very goal orientated. So Richard, say what's up to the people, my brother.
Hey guys, what's up?
That's crazy. All right, Richard. So we're gonna start like this. All right, Richard. So my audience would like to know exactly who you are. Of course, we go back because of UTSA. So please give us an introduction of yourself. Exactly. Yeah. So pretty much, how did you make your way over here?
Over here, I mean, how do I make my way to UTSA? I applied and I got in. That's how I got here, man. That's how I got here. I mean, honestly, man, I come from a humble family in Houston. Parents came from Nigeria, worked and made a living here. That's really that. And they gave me the opportunity to go to college, and I took it.
Okay, that's what's up. So a little bit about your ethnicity. So exactly, what are you per se?
As I said, I'm Nigerian American. I was born
Okay.
in Nigeria, raised in America.
All right, that's what's up. Me too. So we're both Yorubas, of course. We be on that top. We be on that type of time. Handsome brothers. But look, so basically, I got Richard here today because he does a lot of stuff with engineering. He's actually in school for engineering. There's a lot of you know youth, a lot of Black youth, a lot of African American youth who don't primarily go into the engineering field. There's not a lot, given to them. There's not a lot discussed about it with, minorities, of course. So I got my brother Richard here because he's still sticking with it. He enjoys engineering. He enjoys programming. So I just want him here to discuss exactly what he does and and just the process, of course. So Richard, about engineering, can you please let us know exactly what type of engineering you're in at UTSA?
Right now, I'm a computer engineer.
Okay.
Computer engineering is a subset of engineering where the main focus is on, I guess, computers. But when people think of computer engineering, they would first think of like computer science and try to compare us with that. Well, it's completely different. In computer engineering, our main focus is the hardware of computers, things like the processor, the memory, and other such peripherals. And in addition to that, we go down to a very low level when it comes to the actual science involved with it. I'm talking not just the O's and ones, but the actual electrons and protons that actually like make things shake down there.
Hmm. Okay. So what got you interested, with engineering, to start engineering? Was it just about, the promise of making a large sum of money, or was it something that you generally found interest in, when you started with UTSA? So
Well, I've always had a thing for computers. I remember when I got my first computer, man, those were some crazy days. I used to always mess them up. There'd always be problems and viruses and bugs and all that stupid stuff. Because you're a kid, and when you want to use computers, you do stupid stuff on computers. And I found myself a lot of the times having to debug it, fix things, troubleshoot things on my own. Mind you, I'm like 8, 9 years old doing this. In addition to that, I always used to take them apart and kind of see where I broke them to. Yeah, I wasn't really good with tech as a kid. I used to mess it up a lot. But I mean, going forward as I got older, I always had it. Like, again, I always had an innate interest with technology. When I was younger, I used to also have hella Android phones, and things I used to do with that was, Androids are slow, especially compared to iPhones. So I used to
mhm.
always hack them and try to put on new operating systems that would like run it a little smoother.
Mhm.
And it worked a few times. Other times, I did make some bricks. If you
Yeah.
know what I mean. Yeah. But going into college, I mean, I knew I wanted to do something with computers. Computer science was an option and was probably might have been the obvious choice. I had
Hmm.
already taken programming classes in high school,
Hmm.
and also in addition to that, my father actually teaches computer science. He's a professor, a doctor professor in Nigeria
Oh, that's what's up.
currently. So I don't know. I guess it was maybe like a little bit of my little
Okay.
human pride. I don't want like when you want to like do something, but it's similar to your parents, but you don't want to do exactly what your parents did.
Yeah.
So I kind of went into my decision of picking computer engineering over computer science. But other factors came into play also. Again, I wanted to be a little more broad based with what I know in computers. My dad's main focus on computers is software,
Hmm.
and I would like to take a step further and get a look into the hardware too.
Okay. Got you. So basically, what do you think? Okay, so I know that with engineering, it's really difficult. At UTSA, there's a lot of you're still what's that term that we call it? You're like a sophomore, junior for like 2 years. You know how that is, because just
I
the
just
way the
call it I just call it senior year part A and B.
yeah, because you know how hard the classes are. So for people who are trying to get into the engineering field, what would you say would be something that they should have in mind, and how would you
Actually, I got more. I got more. I got plenty for them. If you're a freshman or sophomore in high school right now and you want to go into engineering, go and take classes, whether it be AP classes or just no or dual credit, AP and dual credit. When you take AP, make sure you can actually pass that AP test because you want to pass that AP test. You want those credits. Same thing with dual credit. You want to go to take certain dual credit classes that you
in
can
what
apply
though?
towards your
In
things like, for example, math.
Okay.
If if you can take some algebra and possibly get a calculus credit before college, that'll be great. That'll put you ahead of the game, especially with a lot of these classes. You'll go to school thinking you're good at math, take one entrance exam, and it'll throw you in freaking pre-college math. Luckily, that's not what they did for me. But I know that, but that's happened to a lot of people. You don't want to be in that position. It can set you back like a year. And that
Okay.
and some other classes too. In addition to that, build good study habits. Before I got to college, I wasn't a bad student, but I was a lazy student, so to say. I was the type of person to, do homework last minute, study for exams last minute, and still barely got by with B's and A's. Barely. College, you can't do that in college. I remember my first exam in college for chemistry.
Hmm.
I think I failed it with like a 42. That was the worst grade I ever got in my life
Yeah.
for a test that I actually studied for. I,
Yeah.
I stayed up till like 4 o'clock the last night studying for that exam, and taking that L really hurt me because you get a 40
Yeah.
after you study. How much worse can you do? And mind you study. So the solution to that is simply this: the second, not even the second class starts. A week before class starts, organize yourself. Um, Start setting up days and times where you want to simply do nothing but study and do
Hmm.
homework. Prioritize yourself. If your friends say they want to do this and that this day, but you know you have to get this done this day, do what you gotta have get done. Set play and fun and parties, all that for rewards for
Hmm.
after you take care of the important stuff.
Of course.
Because believe me, you don't want to get caught behind. The thing that causes most engineers to fall behind in their grades and classes is simply just not staying on track with the coursework at the beginning. And I'm not just talking about homework. I know engineers. You guys love to go home and copy that stuff. No, I'm talking about your classes, whether for example, how we're online right now, keeping up with those lectures you have,
Hmm.
watching those the day they come out,
Hmm.
taking notes, being attentive with what you're learning.
Okay.
Not, and again, attentiveness, not just sitting there staring at the screen, taking in a little bit of information. No, you want to sit there and actually think about how these things work, why they work, and how you could possibly even apply them one day.
Okay. And also, I realize the importance of community, especially with engineering. So I know that you're in, I believe, what is it called, Nesby. So what do you feel like the importance of joining a community and a group? Like, do you feel like that's something that people who are going to engineering should look into, joining a community, joining a group, coming as a collective and trying to you know get together on certain things, maybe do some type of what is it called, some type of workflows, or just a lot of things that you guys do. So can you please explain to me about like what Nesby is and just the community that you guys have and how that is a benefit to you and all other engineering students, and how that can be a benefit in just joining a group really in whatever you want to do in life. So
Okay. I mean, 100%. You can't do this alone. You can't be a lone wolf doing engineering. That's what I'll tell you, unless you're freaking Nikola Tesla. And that guy's been dead for how many years? I don't think anyone
exactly.
hears Nikola Tesla, to be honest.
Yeah.
But I mean,
We got
things like
Elon though. We got
hey,
Elon. Even
that
though,
guy had to have, hey, he didn't start PayPal by himself. It was PayPal, right? Yeah,
yeah,
he didn't start PayPal by himself. He didn't
he had a
start Tesla
group.
by himself. He had a team, a strong team.
It's with engineering and programming in general and trying to start some type of tech business, really, it's always about a team, you know. So it's always about a group because you can't do everything by yourself. It's literally impossible, you know. So yeah, I know you can speak more to it. So keep like explain to us what Nesby really does and how that benefits you guys and stuff like that.
My view of Nesby, I see it as a platform for African Americans to be able to network and also find a safe space in which they can explore the careers that they would like to explore within engineering. I mean, Nesby, the National Society of Black Engineers. It's a great org, honestly. If you're an African American at a university right now, and they have a chapter there, go join it. Even if you don't have the time, just join it. Come here and there. They offer a lot of resources for African Americans, whether it be our conferences, which I know many people who have gone jobs and internships off of, or just the chance to connect with other professionals, not just within the United States, but around the world. That's really it. Nesby is really just a platform,
Yeah,
a platform for Black engineers to connect.
yeah. Just
And
just just the way that, you know, like you spoke about those conferences that you guys have. It's very important about those career fairs that takes place at colleges that a lot of students do not go to. They don't even understand how that is. You're losing
oh,
so much value, you know, losing
oh
so
my,
much, joining organizations, joining groups, you know, and
yeah,
just seeing there's more out there. Of course, um, just in the fact that, you know, for Black people, you know, we're not, you know, not to harp on that, but there's really not a lot of, you know, Black people who go into engineering. I know, you know, go into programming because it's something that, you know, it's just to me it's the lack of knowledge and the lack of leadership at times. And even, you know, if people start, sometimes they end up quitting, of course, but I just feel like it's about surrounding yourself with the right group of people, you know, joining organizations and just getting the word out there that you can do more, you can do other things, you can learn a programming language, you can even self-teach yourself stuff like that. I know that's what you're on right now with AWS and AI and all that stuff. So um in terms of programming, what is it that you like about programming and what type of program language do you currently, you know what I'm saying, use yourself? So
okay. What do I like about programming? Oh man,
yeah.
I like the fact that I can control a machine. It's like magic. You can type a few lines of code here and there, and it does stuff. And it's crazy because you're just sitting there typing. Um, man, coding is crazy. Honestly, I can't really speak on what I like about coding a lot,
Hmm.
but I can really speak about what I don't like about coding.
What is that?
man, man, if I tell you, man, the biggest problem with coding for me at times is simply just when you have a set task, right?
Yeah,
And you know how to do the task, and you figured out the task. But then as you're executing the task, you get an error. And
exactly.
then the error has like a couple, just a little error message with a couple lines of code.
Hmm.
So you copy and paste that error message to your Google Chrome browser. You know, look it up on uh, Stack Exchange and other websites
Hmm.
to find hundreds of thousands of other posts which have nothing to do with what you're looking for. So then you spend the next 2 weeks trying to troubleshoot or debug a very
Yeah.
simple error.
Hmm.
Those things are very time consuming and very mind numbing. But at the end of the day, once you figure that out, there's no feeling greater than figuring it out.
Okay.
When you man, I mean honestly.
So what type of programming language do you use? Is it Python? Is it JavaScript? Or what exactly is it that you use to do your coding? And also with computer engineering, is there a lot of programming involved, or is that something that you decided to take action with and do? You know what I'm saying? So how does that correlate?
Okay, first question. What language do I use right now?
Yes, sir.
I mean, I'm experienced in most of the major languages. Recently, I had a project where I wrote mainly in HTML, CSS, and
Mm,
TypeScript.
mm-hmm,
TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript for anyone who doesn't know.
mm-hmm.
Um, and right now, I'm currently working on a project. I can't speak about it. It's for research
Okay,
using Python. Yeah.
okay.
And as for your other question, what was your other question again?
Um, well, the correlation with computer engineering and programming, did you yourself decide to you know, learn that, you know, by yourself and go with that more, or was it kind of already something that heavily correlated, so it was really an easy thing for you to kind of grasp, you know?
Okay, I'm gonna answer this in two parts. First of all, as a computer engineer, you do have to learn programming. You have to learn languages like C and some are very low level languages because when you have, for example, a processor and a chip, and you want to make it do stuff, like for example, turn on a light, you have to have code. You have to
Mm-hmm.
have instructions for it so
Mm-hmm.
that the machine can know what to do.
Yeah,
The
like
machine doesn't think
variables.
for itself. Yeah, variables is one of those aspects of coding.
Yeah, aspects
Um,
of containing a code. Yeah.
yeah, and then the second part of my answer. Let me think here. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I've had a long day, man.
You're good. It's just that did you you know start applying yourself more into the programming aspect? Like how did that
Okay,
happen? Because
okay.
I've known you before,
Um,
you know, it was mainly like now because you know I've known you, bro. So you know what I'm saying? So I've seen you struggle, you know what I'm saying, with engineering, studying, bro, sleeping on floors to study for stuff. You know what I'm saying? We know you know I know how it goes.
yeah,
So
man.
so is it like for now that I see you, you know, you're excelling, you're taking your time, you're actually putting in the work into programming and stuff like that. So is that something that you decided to go at more, or is that just like the task that's like kind of correlates with, you know, computer engineering? Is that something like you're like, okay, you know what, let me um download some programming software and actually code some stuff and do some apps and like is it something that you made the decision yourself to kind of learn more and do more of, or how did that happen?
Um, I started coding in high school. The first time I learned how to code was in high school. I actually took two different computer classes in
Oh,
high
that's
school,
cool.
and those kind of gave me the foundations for coding, I guess.
Hmm.
And then I had to take a couple more coding classes in college also. Although I'll
Hmm.
be honest, I don't really. There's not really too much that I have to take for programming as a computer engineer. A few
Hmm.
classes, but as for the other languages, I mean, I've always tried learning those other languages. Like I always had low level understandings of those languages. For example, Python and HTML, CSS. I've learned those languages before,
Hmm.
but actually doing stuff with it. I mean, I'll say I didn't really start putting work into it, like learning it deeply, until I had a project.
Mm.
Until I had to actually apply my knowledge to an actual task,
Hmm.
and that's when I started like actually really studying it hard and really trying to understand the syntax and what's going on.
Okay.
I think that's how it is for programming in general, man. You can learn code, but you don't learn code until you actually do code.
Well, unless you actually do it, yeah, and actually watch
Exactly.
what you do actually run, you know, and actually work on the software or whatever software. So in terms of that project, like is that something like that was given to you by you know by UTSA, by the school, or is that something that you found, you know, outside? Like, you know, for people who are going into engineering, you know, they want to work, you know, get a job, you know, or do some type of project. Like how did you get that project that you just spoke about?
I mean, if you want to know how it really started, I started in Houston. I met with this one guy at my church. He actually does
Got
consulting
you.
for artificial intelligence.
Got you.
And I was just talking to him about it because he's been my mentor for a few years, specifically for computer engineering. And I was talking to him about like my future and like what am I going to do with my degree. And he was just talking to me about AI. And I've always kind of had an interest in AI, but not really much. But then he gave me what he told me that day really caught my mind. I don't know exactly what it was. But when I went home that day, I went and started reading up articles and trying to like understand more about AI, you know, machine learning. Now, fast forward to the semester. This started in December, going into January. When the next semester started, um, I had a network theory class, right? First day of the class, and the professor mentioned that he was he that he was. I'm sorry, someone's distracting me right now.
You're good.
He mentioned that he was doing research into artificial intelligence.
Got you.
And well, I just took my chance. You know, you're a junior in college and like you don't got an internship under your belt yet. You see an opportunity, you take the chance. And I took the chance. So I went and talked to him, met him in his office, kind of, I guess, talked about the little I know about AI. I promise you, I didn't know nothing about artificial intelligence. I thought I knew something. Watched a couple YouTube videos and thought I knew something. But I guess he was at least maybe a little impressed that a guy was trying, I guess. And he said, okay, we'll see what we can do. And he just started me off with this small little project. It's not even AI, I guess, but it was a project. It was a project, an engineering project that involved me using my skills as an engineer to create something. And I just did what I was told.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, man, that sounds pretty cool. Did you already finish that project, or how's it coming along?
Yeah. I finished it. I finished it. It's already up on the App Store, actually. I made an app.
Okay. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Is it up and running, bro?
Yeah.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
You want to tell us what it's called, or is that, you know what I'm saying, secretive?
No, it's already public. It's already up on the website. It's called what's it called again? It's a damn. Let me see here.
No, you're good. You're good, bro. We'll discuss that later.
It's a risk calculator. That's what it is.
It's risk calculator. Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
basically, like for example, if a surgeon has a patient, right, they'd have to calculate the risk that you know the surgery might not go well. If you know what I mean. And what it basically just does is it just takes a bunch of different health factors, quantifies it with the what's it called? Now I don't know exactly how they do it. I just made the code for it, but the theory behind the medicine, it just calculates risk.
Okay.
Like what percent? What's the percentage that this surgery could go wrong and you could possibly die, basically.
Okay. Does it go into looking at health factors like the predisposed position of the individual?
Yeah, things like that. It asks for things like that. It basically just takes the app itself just takes inputs of like health statistics of the person, like age, sex, things like that. Health history, and it quantifies it in a way, and it comes out with an answer of your risk total and the risk percentage.
Yo, that sounds mad cool, bro. I'm not gonna lie. That sounds pretty cool.
It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple.
But it sounds nice. Okay, so I do want to talk about AWS and see how that's going, but I kind of want to switch into the topic of politics because I know that you are very interested in politics, and you're a very interesting guy, Richard. You know that. You know that I in a funny way I do kind of look up to you. You know what I'm saying? And because you're a smart guy, you like knowledge, of course, and you have your own mind. So I definitely want to discuss politics with you. We have these conversations all the time, go into all types of crazy stuff. Hegelian dialectic. You know what I'm saying? Causing the problem, creating the solution, and implementing it, or something like that. So you know how that goes. So with the current state of politics in America, the current state of leftists, current state of conservatives, and just what's going on with the whole election, just coronavirus and just a lot of things that's just coming into the forefront. Like, what do you think? Like, what do you think this will end? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is it that because I'm conservative, you know what I'm saying, and you are
What do
too.
you mean by what do you mean by it's going? What is going to end?
No, not like when is it? When is it going to be like, because right now it seems like everybody has some type of I don't know how to explain it. Has some type of angst, some type of like there's no place to kind of both sides talk about whatever they view in politics without
Are you
some type
referring
of
to
anger.
the
Without some type of anger.
polarization? You're talking about political polarization.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, really, like political polarization. I mean, if you take a country, I mean, the United States has always been politically polarized, always has been, and there are times in history where the polarization is just obvious. As of right now, the polarization really just stands within the line of right versus left politics, conservative versus
Liberals.
liberal, things like that. As for when will this, how would I say, this hysteric period end? I mean, it just depends on like what happens with the next event. Political polarization really just stems from like. Let me start with this. Politics. Not everyone's involved with politics. Not everyone is interested in politics.
True.
People who have a vested interest in politics are probably maybe 30% of the country. That's a minority of people. That's where the polarization is. Everyone else, if you're not too strongly into politics, you kind of go based off of what you've seen and heard here and there, off your gut or how you feel about a candidate. As for those in the 30%, I would say, and please, if anyone sees this, do not get mad if my numbers are wrong. I'm saying all this off the top of my head right now. I could be very wrong about that percentage, please. But within that minority group, that's where most of the polarization is happening, because I don't know. Politics is very complex, but let me continue.
It is. Like, okay, so why is it, you know what I'm saying? So, okay, so with this whole election, this going on, do you feel like as a black man or an African American man, a man, of this complexion, our complexion, do you feel like we're being targeted by all types of demographic in a way where it's like we can't even have our own opinions, that it kind of stems like I saw a commercial, right? Of not to bring this up or whatever, but I saw a commercial
It's not that black people can't have
strippers.
an opinion.
What'd you say?
It's not that black people can't have an opinion. Anyone can have an opinion, no matter who you are. The thing is, will you get pressure for having that opinion? That's the question. If you're black and conservative, you're gonna receive pressure from having that opinion. If you're black and you're more liberal, the opinion is expected.
Mm-hmm.
Although in some circles, you might get a little more pressure for talking about some of those opinions, just depending on who you're with. All depends on who you're around. If I'm around a lot of people who are conservative, I don't care. I can have whatever opinion I want, because they all think just like me. If I am liberal and have those opinions, no one will care, because everyone will think and act just like me. For example, if you look at young people or just black people in general, they mostly lean on the Democratic side. Although I would argue that if you actually question them, policy by policy, things like that, they might lean a little more conservative, especially the older ones.
Mm-hmm.
But as for
especially Africans.
especially Africans, as for young African Americans, I mean, they're young. Most of them grew up around mostly left-leaning media, things like that. So it's not to say like it's just expected. And when you come out as having a different opinion from the majority,
mm-hmm.
it just looks kind of odd. Not only that, but you can also postulate off the political history of the United States. yes, the Democratic Party was the party that inflicted the most harm on African Americans throughout American history, up until what they would say the 1950s or 60s, when many say that Republicans and Democrats switched ideologically when it came to
Yeah.
race,
Mhm.
which honestly I think is utterly stupid. But you can argue with me about that later. Literally only one person switched parties. One person switched parties. In fact, it was a Republican Congress and Senate that voted in some of the bills that have really pushed African American rights.
True. Hey, so I know that we've discussed, remember when we've had a conversation about like in terms of institutionalized things that's been mandated against African Americans, Black people, and you believe that as of right now there's really not that much in terms of holding a Black person down, or like or it's we've had that discussion
There,
where
there are so there are certainly factors that may hold a black person down, but these are usually historical factors, or factors that affect everyone else, whether you are black, white, Hispanic, or anything like that. As for
okay.
those that specifically
So
hold down black people, you
this
can
is the
just say
thing.
poverty. But
What is it?
poverty isn't. Continue. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. So this is the thing. We've had that discussion. So what do you think? Like, so why do you say that? So why do you say there's nothing really institutionalized? I know we discussed, your mother and how she got to where she is through hard work, which I do believe that there's really, through hard work, through leaving the belief of you being torn down by the man, like people leaving that belief that everything is against them
That's
is
called
is
that's called having self. What's it called? Damn, there's a word for it, man. I'm sorry. I wish my
awareness,
vocabulary was no. This self.
actualization.
No, I was thinking that too, but that's not the word. But it's basically just being able to yourself as an individual decide
Accountability.
through your action. Yes, accountability is part of it, but through your actions, basically decide what your life is going to be like, no matter where you start. Um, as for my mom, she just worked hard, man. That woman worked hard. Things weren't easy at first, but she worked hard and she put herself in the best position that she could be in. I thank God for what He's done for us and for what my mother has done for our family. Um, as for institutionalized racism, we know that institutional racism has existed in the United States in the past. As of today, I would argue that there's no institutional racism because there's no specific policy that targets race aside from affirmative action. That policy specifically targets race. It specifically makes decisions based on race, and I honestly think it needs to end.
Yo, Richard,
Now,
your screen is off.
I know because someone's calling me, but I just declined them. Um,
You feel like
some
you
people
feel
say
like
that.
what you saying again? Say that again.
What I say?
You said you feel like some type of institutionalization. You
Okay, institutionalized racism has existed in the past. As of today, I don't think it exists. Some may argue that it exists because of the way police treat African Americans and certain things like that. Um, you can think about institution. Well, I mean, at least this is how I look at it logically, in my opinion. I see when you say something is institutionally wrong, what I want to do is I would then look at the policy. Okay, what exactly is the policy that is targeting the race? And the thing about it is, a lot of these policies are. It's not that they're targeting race specifically, but when we look at when there are desperate outcomes in these policies, like for example policing, um, many tend to what's it called? Point out that those desperate outcomes come from race, even though the policy is not specifically targeting race at all. It's like this. We would have, let's say we have an equation. We have an outcome, let's call that variable z, and then we have inputs, x and y. Now, x plus y equals z. But the logic that I'm getting a lot from with those who say that institutional racism is deep in the United States right now is there is no why. There is no there is no third variable that is within the equation that would cause X to then lead to Z. There has to be a why there.
See,
Now,
let me get on
now
that.
that why, now when I say that why,
Let me,
why
give me
should
Richard.
be a policy.
Give me 1 second. Let me get on that, bro.
Okay.
So I understand what you're saying. I feel like people believe that there is some type of institutionalized policy racism going on as of right now, just because of the way things may have happened in the past. Like I really believe that it's because of poverty and the lack of knowledge. I think it all stems to lack to knowledge in terms of investing, in yourself, the stock market, knowing certain things about life insurance, knowing certain all these policies that can actually benefit you. Of course, other races, uh, they've had a head start. That's true. They've had a head start, but I think what it is it's all starts from the individual. You have to make a change. There's no such thing as institution stopping you. You can all get the same life insurance. You can all invest as you would. Did you know what I'm saying? So you have people, great grandmothers, great grandfathers. They invest into the stock market. They took out life insurance. They taught their kids. They put them in nice schools. They did all that stuff. That's not from institutionalized. That's just from having the knowledge, And because of that, they're able to give more to their future generation, and that's why they're so ahead because they
Let me play. Let me
ahead
play.
by time.
Let me play devil's advocate. What would you say about, let's take a boy from, I don't know, maybe inner city Houston or Detroit or Chicago, and let's take a 6-year-old boy. His father, let's say his father is already in jail. His mother is a single mother. She's working a couple minimum wage jobs right now to pay for pay for make sure that kid survives. She can't really work any other job because she doesn't have a degree. She has a kid, so it's really hard for her to go back to college. There's also a chance that she may or may not have finished what's it called, high school. So that can be a problem also.
Okay.
And then let's say that boy grows up. He has no father. He doesn't, and then he doesn't see his mother a lot because she's always working. Now, he's raised by the TV. He's raised by his friends. Now, let's say the neighborhood he's in is quite violent, and the only way to really get by around that neighborhood is through violence.
Yeah.
Through crime. Some would posit that it's not really that guy's fault. Some would say that it's society's fault for allowing the type of poverty that would have such a situation. Now, I'm not done yet. That kid grows up, and he meets a woman. They have a kid before they're married.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't abort the kid. Thank God, I guess. And
you already know about the African American.
Let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about that. That's a whole nother issue.
That isn't a whole other issue.
And how would I say?
They do the same cycle. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, it's cycles. It's a problem with cycles. It's a poverty cycle.
He ends up in jail.
Now, in the racism that most people posit, that maybe I could possibly agree on this. This is historical racism. The fact that society, the policies of our government, and also the racism and the Jim Crow laws that were placed in the past have put African Americans far behind. In fact, to be honest, they were catching up for a little bit, but then in the 60s and 70s, we started having a lot more policies around welfare, which in my opinion, I could be wrong, which in my opinion led to a whole host of other problems, at least economically, for African Americans.
Because they rely on the government. They're relying on welfare.
Not to say that they're relying on it.
They rely on it. Well,
no.
It benefits them. It benefits people, yeah.
Of course.
And it's not just
having it there. But think about it. When the government is able to provide for you and your child, is there a reason to get married? Besides for love? Is there a reason?
And
Is there a reason to be more careful with your finances?
no, because look, if the government is going to take care of you based upon how many kids you have, you know, your income and all types of things, and give you
It
money
incentivizes it incentivizes a lot of dangerous things.
exactly to continue that way, and you know, and that's that's really one of the major problems. So
I mean, that's just part. I mean, that's just part of it all. But there's a lot of problems that have been causing African Americans to really fall behind the United States. A lot of problems.
but the thing is,
But the thing is, what I want to say is, it's not impossible for these chains to be broken. Obviously, there needs to be more investment within the education, and there needs to be a cultural change within the lives of many on the uses of education. You know, I've spoken to a lot of people. They don't really think that the education system can get them anywhere, and I see why. Even me as a college student, I tell myself every other day that I think college is a scam. I'm still here,
dude,
but
because there's the worth of a degree is becoming less because it's more people with degrees. So because of that, and like I feel like because of
that's not really why that's not why
but the
the
thing
price
is
of
but
college
the
is
thing
scandal.
bro the thing is, man, you have a lot of people graduating college, you know, they're not given the same opportunities that people years ago, you know, who got out of school, they were able to get a job almost immediately that paid them like a decent amount of money, able to, you know, start a family, get houses at a lower cost, all these type of things, you know. And now you have a lot more people who are getting out of college, not able to find jobs, you know what I'm saying? Not able to do certain things. And that's, you know, is what's to me is causing a lot of angst within not the entire, you know, the entire nation. And it's very apparent, you know, you have high student debt, which again, nobody asked you to go to college, but it's already self-programmed, you know, nobody actually do certain things. And I think it's just, I think really where a lot of problems cease to exist is through the education of oneself and the education of, it starts from the parents, in my opinion. I feel like if you have a well-educated,
100%, 100%.
you know what I'm saying?
100%. I agree with you. Parenting is very important, man. I wouldn't be where I am today without my parents, to be honest. But
Exactly.
if you're born into a system where your parents have already fallen behind, or one of your parents isn't even here, what else can you really do?
Exactly.
I mean, I've seen people try to escape the system and just fall back into it because of more trauma that hits them throughout their lives. Now, as for the whole to break it, the ideas I have, I mean, obviously, I'm gonna say that there needs to be more education, more investment in education. I don't think these problems can be solved within the next generation. Personally, I don't think it can be solved within the next 10 15 years. I think it will be better than 10 to 15 years, but there's still going to be very significant disparities that can be noticed. As for policing, I think disparities within policing can change very soon. I think we have the technology and the infrastructure, and we can educate our police in the ways to be able to reduce those. I mean, in my opinion, most of the problems with policing African American comes from what's it called? Issues of bias, straight up bias. You
Yeah.
come into a neighborhood where you know it's violent consistently. You know the population there is violent consistently. So when you like for example, stop someone at a traffic light or have to deal with people within the neighborhood, you're going to be more aggressive. You're going to, I want to say, be more trigger happy, but you could possibly be more trigger happy. And not only that, but you might even just police a little more aggressively. But there's ways to curb that. I've spoken to state troopers here in Texas. They told me about one system they have in place here where they'll actually literally they won't tell the cops that they're counting this up. The cops will know that the system's in place, but they don't know like what the score is. Every time they'll basically count up all like for example, how often you stop a black person, right? They count that up. Now if they notice that there's a large that there's a large inequality within the ratio of that in comparison to the population, they'll put a mark on your record. They'll investigate you, and they won't even tell you to go investigate you, and then they'll figure out how to deal with you.
That's nice.
There are ways to be able to solve this problem, but we just need leaders who are willing on getting past partisanship, politics, you know, that my side must win at all. How would I say? My team must win mentality that we have in politics these days, and actually try to solve problems.
But there's also the thing of actually following the law. You know what I'm saying? Actually
You know,
following the law
I agree.
is
I agree. Personal responsibility plays a large share into this. If you're not,
exactly. If you
if you were never selling, illegal drugs in the first place, you wouldn't have to deal with the cops. And there's a lot, and there's a lot, and that's where most of the cases are. We know that. But the thing about it is, that's not what most people are worried about. Most people are worried about the stopping and frisking, over aggression within cops, police brutality. Those are the things that people are worried about. They're worried about being profiled by police. They're worried that they're worried that, I mean, in my opinion, wrongly, that the cops are most likely to shoot them at traffic stops and things like that. Those are things that they're worried about. And
yeah,
those are the things that also, actually going back to your point before, cause political polarization. I mean, honestly, when you have crazy events within a country that spark outrage, that leads to more polarization. But things were polarized even under Obama. Trayvon Martin got killed under Obama. Other African Americans got killed under Obama. His administration did try to do some things. They didn't really do so well, in my opinion. Although under that time, one thing that I did say improved was body cams. Body cams have increased exponentially throughout the United States over the past 5 years. And that's one important thing towards keeping cops accountable. And again, keeping cops accountable is just another part of it. Now, if you want to tackle the criminal aspect, I think the first thing you have to do is actually tackle two things: culture and poverty. If people are raised into a situation where they're poor and they can't get by, what do you expect? What do you expect? If I cannot feed my children, what can you expect?
yeah,
I don't. Now, that's not validating them. That's not saying that they should go and do that. In fact, they should not do that. In fact, they should.
exactly.
I'll honestly say that there are they can find other ways of surviving. They can figure out, like, I don't think anyone has to go to crime in order to survive in the United States
They don't.
as an immigrant.
They
As
don't.
an immigrant, that's what I personally think.
No,
But
nobody has to go to crime.
but if someone is born in that situation and they're not that well educated, and they're already and they're in an environment that's already violent, what do you expect from them? So we need to figure out poverty within that community first, also. And in addition to that, culturally, within the Black community, I mean, it's getting better. It's gotten a lot better.
Yeah,
There's a strong push for African Americans engineering, and I feel like I'm at the forefront of it. Thank God.
there's
There is
in
there
terms of even
there's a lot of help out there for African
exactly.
Americans who are trying to really make it in college. There's lots of resources out there. As for high schools, elementary, I think the United States education system is broken. This is not, in fact, it's not even just a problem for African Americans. It's a problem for many students across the country, where you have neighborhoods where, um, because they can't collect enough taxes, they can't fund their school enough. That's a national problem, and there's also and I think that both Republicans and Democrats could be able to come to terms with ways to be able to solve those problems. Whether it's Democrats allowing Republicans to pass more laws that allow for more school choice, or Republicans just being willing to at least just allow a little bit more money in certain districts that need money for schools. And not only that, but there's also a level of competence that we need to see from school administrators all over the place. I mean, honestly, hold your teachers accountable, hold your students accountable, hold your parents accountable. Parents, especially, man. And again, you do have to also look at the fact that many parents, again, can't just be around to, like, really push their kids in school. Some of them have to take on multiple jobs in order to make what's it called,
Make ends meet.
ends meet, make ends meet, and that's okay. People have to do what they got to do. But
Yeah,
at the same time, there
but
has to be a stronger emphasis on education. My parents both had times where they were working two jobs, when they were busting their tails, doing all this stuff. But they'll still come home. First thing they say, "Did you finish your homework? Did you study? Why have you not studied?" In fact, there was a point in my life where my parents wouldn't even let me watch TV throughout the week, because they knew that my education was paramount to me being successful in this country or in this world.
in this
So
world,
there has to be a stronger emphasis on that from the African American culture. I can't really say much about the music and all that stuff. I listened to it. I can't complain. The music and culture didn't stop me from going anywhere. But house to house. Things like that have to
You know,
change.
it's very agenda driven. You know, it's very deeply rooted. It's kind of just ridiculous how deeply rooted it is in terms of the fear the police officers have just from the color of our skin, just based upon things they've seen or watched even on television. And you know what I'm saying? Just it goes so far that it's just ridiculous. And you know, it's kind of understandable, but everybody has their own everybody has their own judgment on people. Everybody is a little bit biased, have prejudice, and there's nothing really.
Ooh,
But the thing is, what do you feel about, you know, in terms of what Malcolm X was saying, in terms of instead of having, you know, all encompassing groups of people everywhere, how about having you surrounded by your own group of people instead of you being, what is that term they call it, um
multiculturalism.
yeah, you know, like you know, Malcolm X was against all that stuff. He just wanted to have his
Multiculturalism.
own, he
Multi.
wanted the black people to have their own community and be by themselves because we'll be able to empower ourselves and lift ourselves up. I think the thing is with a lot of people, they think that integration, there we go, is something that is supposed to happen. It's supposed to be something that's extremely good. Well, in actuality,
Integration is good.
integration
It
is
works.
actually not all the time good or helpful.
What city are you from?
Houston.
What is the most diverse city in the country right now?
Is it Houston?
Yes.
Yeah,
What do you
we're
see every
also
day in
top.
Houston?
Hmm?
Now, the thing about diversity and integration, it works, but only if there are shared goals and commonalities within those different groups. It works. One thing I will say is, at the end of the day, people will end up going following their own different groups. I mean, even go to Houston. How often you hang out with brown people yourself? As someone who's lived in Houston over the past few months, rarely, if ever. I know you hung out with plenty of Nigerians. You hung out with plenty of black people. Just because those are people who look like you, who you feel most comfortable around. That's just human psychology. Yes, you're just as comfortable being around other people, but if you're in a room and there are 30 white people and 5 black people, who are you going to go sit with?
You black people, man.
No matter what you believe in, unless the black guys are brandishing or doing something you don't like. You see a group of white guys brandishing or doing something you do like, whether maybe if it's something that's based on religion or something, other things. I mean, honestly, it's all around surrounded. It's all based around identity. You can consider your religion an identity. You can consider the type of glasses you wear as an identity. You wear glasses, you identify as a person who wears glasses, and you probably relate to someone within a few aspects. You'll be able to relate with someone on a couple of topics with someone who also has glasses because they have shared experiences, whether it comes to going to the doctor and, like, getting your eyes checked out, certain similarities and, like, things you hear from the doctors, or just the lifestyle of having glasses. Those things that you can relate on, those things that you can conversate on, those things that make you feel like you belong or that you're like someone else. And you can extrapolate that out to race and religion and political identity. Just things like Malcolm X is right and wrong. It's good for black people to stick to it's good for black people to stick together. We're stronger together. But he's wrong in the sense that we also we're all human beings at the end of the day. And society is different these days. We live in a multicultural society. And I don't know exactly how, but integration is the direction we're heading in. Unless we want to be separated, unless we all just want to be factions everywhere.
Okay.
I
Um,
mean, honestly, I don't know. My opinions are mixed on that because if we go back to Nigeria, one of my opinions I have about my country is that the government either needs to decentralize further or Nigeria needs to split up. The political
yeah,
structure
I was
there
gonna
is
ask you
too
about that.
based on
Um,
ethnicity.
hold up, Richard. I was gonna ask you about that. Um, in terms of all this, what is it called? All these people who are like, I've seen an uptick of a lot of people who are protesting, who are activists per se, Um, what do you think about that? Do you think it's something that is good, that's going to cause a change, or do you think it's for naught? I mean, I always feel
It's,
like there's an agenda when it comes to things that are publicized. There's an agenda when it comes to activism per
I mean,
se. We got
everyone has an agenda. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Everyone has an agenda. Even you right now. You called me saying, let's go have this interview because you have the agenda. Whether that agenda is to push your channel, push your brand, or to push the ideas that you have. That's your agenda. Everyone has an agenda. And anyone who says they don't have agenda is a damn liar.
true.
As for political media, they all have agendas, man. That's just a fact. That's a given. It is what it is, man. I mean, if someone like whether their agenda is free healthcare or low taxes or just other political agendas. Everyone has an agenda, especially if it comes to politics. There is no neutral soul. Um, what's it called? What else were you gonna ask?
Yeah, just the direction of just people. Like I know you've seen an uptake in activism, in protesting, in a lot of these things. Do you feel like it's going in a good direction that will cause change, or or do you just feel like it's something that people are just into nowadays and trying to, I feel like the thing about me, especially when it comes to activism and protesting, is, you know, it feels like people are trying to force you into protesting and, doing, being active and doing stuff like that, like force you into that. Like if you don't do this, then you can do that. Like, why can't people have their own opinion? Why can't people do what, what I'm saying, like do what feels like is best for them? Why is it that you have to put people down? Especially, that's the only thing I dislike. The fact of
You're
putting
asking you're
down.
asking why people aren't being more how would I say tolerant with the way they express their political opinions.
Yeah, it's just, it's ridiculous because we, like, some people might take time to understand what's going on and absorb it. Not everybody wants to jump into a fad because you say so. Not everybody wants to become a political activist just because you say so. Some people like to take time and understand what's going on, and whenever they feel like they want to, they can. And that's the only thing I hate about
Okay,
it.
okay. Let's start from the mind of someone who's an activist. Let's look at, for example, the Black Lives Matter protests. You are, let's say, a young African American woman. Um, you're in high school or college. You're in college, and life's all right. Things are going good. You're black, and you understand that in the United States, you're damn near a lesser class. Not really because the government says you're a lesser class, but just because of the circumstances that most African Americans are in within this country. So you feel like even if you are a privileged black person, like you got money, your parents got money, you come from wealth, you will still feel like you're lesser class just because that's kind of because that's the how would I say, the view that many people would view the African American situation as in the United States because of our history, and also because of the economic situation that most African Americans are in within this time. I mean, honestly, things are so much better now, so much better now. But there's still disparities, and people recognize those disparities, whether it be in policing or economics, things like that, or even socially. Now, you're on Twitter, you're on social media a lot, and we just had a pandemic. The whole world ends. According to your media, the president looks like he completely bungled the entire thing.
Incompetent.
Um, he is. He is no doubt incompetent. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not going to refrain from saying that the president has a lot of issues.
All presidents have issues, you know.
No doubt, no doubt. But
But
ours, he's he's not good at hiding his issues. I'll say that.
Yeah,
At least.
yeah, he's not. In terms of, it's just a lot, man. You know, in terms
But
of
I'm actually not done with my point.
yeah, go ahead.
Now, and you add in the pandemic, and then she's at home all the time. She's always on social media, and then a video comes out, and a guy is shot just running down the road, and the facts come out, and turns out what happened was some idiot vigilante fellas who used to be cops decided to take justice into their own hands. That will breed rage within anyone. Anyone who has, not even just anyone who has a skin tone of the man who was shot. You gotta understand, human beings, our minds work off of what we see and what we hear, not really off of, like, I mean, I should say our reasoning works off of what we can see and what we hear. You know, you can read a number, and a number won't really mean much to you. A statistic won't really mean much to you unless it's a very big difference. You know what I'm saying? But if you see stuff like that, it will cause emotional response in you, and that stuff sticks. Now, you add to that another one. A couple months later, a black man is killed while he's being sat on by a white cop, while the other cops are just watching. And you're wondering, why can't they help that guy? Why did they allow him to die? Why is the other cop just sitting in? And he's yelling, he can't breathe. Now, mind you, there's a lot more facts around that case that give a little more nuanced sense of what's happening, but I'm not gonna go into that because we're looking at it simply from that mind. Now, you posit to that the fact that there's already years of racial injustice in this country already, and there's still an ongoing problem of African Americans being incarcerated at a much higher rate than any other nationality in this country. Of course, we can't really. Of course, I'm not going to say that it's directly because of the police that they're being incarcerated more. No, it's because they have more police encounters within areas of violence. I mean, that's just how it is. African Americans are disproportionately more violent. They commit disproportionately more murders in the United States. Of course, that's just statistics. It's not good. It is what it is. Now, you can't really blame them for it. Again, you got to look at the situation, what's going on.
So is that something that's true? I mean, don't African Americans make only up like 30% of the United States of America?
I didn't say they committed the most. I said that they committed a disproportionate amount.
Oh, got you.
In respect to their population, which is also why there's disproportionately more in jail.
That makes sense.
I guess. Not only that, but also they get caught up along for a lot of other petty crimes, whether it's carrying weed and stuff like that. And police officers are more likely to profile a black guy than a white guy when it comes to things like that. Probably search you first before they search the white guy who's packing the same amount of guns and drugs as you. That's what happens. And again, it's also caused by bias within the police system, or should I say, not the system, within the police force, within the members of the police. Yeah. I don't know if they need to fix that with training or with the cultural change, but that's the problem. Now, you take all these factors in, and the girl is just seeing this again and again, and the next you know, she starts seeing posts every other day for like a span of 2 weeks straight, where it's nothing but black people getting killed. Mind you, these posts are probably not even posts from the same year, but they just keep on popping up and up again because that's what the national zeitgeist is looking at. That's what's popular at that time. And again, you can't blame her. That's what she sees. That's what she hears. Now, for her to see a wrong going on in society, and for you as another individual to seem to not care about it, it hurts her. It makes her feel like you're a part of the problem. You're the reason why these issues are still happening. That's how she or he may feel. And to them, so to some people, that's another injustice. If you're not part of fixing the problem, you are part of the problem, because you are a bystander watching while a national crime in her head is happening. And I mean, if you ask me why, that's my reasoning for why.
Yeah, bro, that was.
It's not just one problem. It's not just one issue. It's a whole plethora of issues that hit people.
That was very.
You got the understanding of those things when you look into interviews.
That was very well said and well thought out. Made a lot of sense. I can see why.
Like you can't really blame them. You don't have to postulate for them.
It's not
but
a. It's not a blame. It's just that
you can't really be mad. That's what I mean. You
not,
can't fully be mad.
yeah.
You can be a little bit irritated, but you can't be mad because there are issues that are real. Although some of the issues, in my opinion, are a little bit more amplified than others, and also a little bit more inflated than they need to be, in my opinion. But there are issues. There are issues of poverty. There are issues of crime. There are issues of education. You know, and unless those things are addressed, all these other surrounding things, like what happened with George Floyd, are going to matter. Even if they have nothing to do with, even if we look at the details of the case and we find that, let's say, I mean, this is obviously not true, but let's say we figure out that George Chauvin is completely innocent. You know, that doesn't matter. What matters is the fact that all this shit is still happening to Black people. Even in my opinion, if we look at a case like the Breonna Taylor case, I don't think no officer or no individual in that case, whether it's Breonna, her boyfriend, or even the cops, had a fault in this case. I think it was actually a fault of the system, of those no-knock warrants that can cause situations where police can come in.
But Richard,
unwarranted. Let me finish. Police can come in unwarranted, and then an individual rightfully could think an intruder's entered the house. They don't know if it's cops yet. Let's say the cops have not yelled, "It's the police" yet. That individual will shoot, and they have the right to, because it's their property and they have the right to protect their property. Now, let's say one of the cops gets hit or not. They're getting shot at. Those cops then, in a way, have a right to shoot back because they have to protect their own lives too. Now, and then we have a third individual in the situation, Breonna, and she gets caught in between the gunfire. That's a completely sad situation, a very sad situation. But to most people, it's going to be representative of a larger problem involving African Americans and police. Even though, if you look at it deeply, it may not be part of the problem. But because her identity is involved in the case, and a very unfortunate thing happened to her, and the police were involved, it fits narrative. It fits narrative.
Yeah, but I honestly, I believe that, Black people's death are overly televised. You know what I'm saying? I believe that they are purposely pushed out in social media to entice people and to cause outrage. Like some of these, like you said, some of these killings that happened months before.
Yeah.
And and they just came out to the forefront. But
they don't get televised until they matter.
Yeah.
Politically or social.
But
that's just how it is. What do you expect?
It was a great time talking to you, bro. Like, we covered a lot of bases. And we're about to wrap things up. And I just want you to say something a little bit to the people who are, I guess, going through things, and just something to motivate the people on, I guess, continuing with their path, working hard and stuff like that. So any last words for the people, man?
Okay, no matter what situation you are right now, remember, it's not the end of the world. It's temporary. Whatever you're going through, whether it's a grind or a tough situation or a tough event, it's temporary. The feelings that you have today are going to go away one day. They're going to be replaced with feelings of joy, happiness, and of success. Just keep working. Your time is coming soon. That's not no cliche. This is real.
All right, man. You heard the man himself, bro. All right, we got to get Richard on here again. We go even deeper. But yeah, bro. It was definitely nice talking to you. And peace out.
Peace.